I am 84 years old today, and I've spent the last 3 hours sitting in this chair looking at a patch of sunlight on the carpet. It moves so slowly that you don't notice it's gone until the room is cold. That's how my life went, I suppose. You think you have an infinite supply of afternoons, but you're really just watching the light retreat 1 inch at a time until you're sitting in the dark. I'm telling you this because I have no one else to tell. My wife, Evelyn, has been gone for 6 years. My son calls on Sundays, usually when he's in the car, on the way to somewhere more important. He's a good man, but he's busy. He has that frantic, important look in his eyes that I used to have. It's a look that says, I'll be happy later once I've finished this one thing. I want to reach through the phone and shake him, but I don't. You can't give people the truth. They have to trip over it themselves. When I was 24, I thought life was a series of problems to be solved. I thought if I worked hard enough, saved enough, and checked enough boxes, I would eventually arrive at a destination called contentment. I married Evelyn because she was kind and she made sense. We bought a house because that's what people did. I took a job at the firm because it paid well and had a clear ladder. I wasn't unhappy. That's the dangerous part. I was just occupied. I remember a Tuesday in 1974. Evelyn wanted to go to the lake. It was a random, humid evening, and she had packed a small basket with some sandwiches. I had a stack of files on the dining room table. I told her we'd go on Saturday instead. I remember the way she looked at me, not with anger, just a sort of quiet acceptance. We didn't go on Saturday because it rained. We didn't go the next week because I was tired. You think those moments are small, you think you're just deferring a sandwich by a lake. But what you're actually doing is training yourself to ignore the only things that matter. I spent 40 years deferring the present for a future that never actually arrived. I was building a monument to a man I never became. By the time I was 45, I was a partner. I had the car. I had the respect of people I didn't even like. I would come home at 8 o'clock, eat a plate of food that had been kept warm in the oven, and pat my son on the head. I thought I was being a provider. I thought I was doing my duty. But I wasn't there. My body was in the house, but my mind was always 3 steps ahead, calculating the next move. I remember my son, Leo, coming into my study with a drawing. I don't even remember what it was, a dog maybe, or a house. I told him it was great without really looking at it. I told him I had a conference call in 5 minutes. I can still see the way he retreated, walking softly so he wouldn't disturb the important man. That's the cost. You think you're working for them, but you're really just teaching them how to live without you. Eventually, they get very good at it. The years didn't fly by, that's a lie people tell. The years were long and heavy, but the decades vanished. You wake up and the grey in your hair isn't a surprise anymore. You realize you haven't laughed until your stomach hurt in 15 years. You realize you and your wife have become roommates who share a mortgage and a history, but no longer a language. The turning point wasn't some grand tragedy. It was a doctor's office. Evelyn had been complaining of a cough for months. I told her it was the season. I told her to see someone when she had a chance. When we finally went, it wasn't the season, it was stage 4. I remember sitting in that plastic chair in the waiting room, looking at the industrial carpet, and feeling this sudden, violent urge to go back to 1974. I wanted that lake, I wanted those sandwiches, I wanted to tell the firm to go to hell. I realized in that moment that all the money I had sacrificed my life for couldn't buy me 1 hour of her health. It couldn't even buy me a sincere conversation with her, because I had forgotten how to have one. We had 11 months. I quit my job, of course. People called me devoted. They said it was beautiful how I stayed by her side. But it wasn't beauty. It was a desperate, panicked attempt at restitution. I was trying to cram 40 years of missed presents into 300 days. I would sit by her bed and try to talk, but what do you say when you've been silent for a lifetime? We talked about the weather. We talked about Leo's kids. We never talked about the dreams we had when we were 20. We had let those dreams starve to death a long time ago. We didn't even remember what they were. One night, shortly before she passed, she looked at me and said, "Arthur, you did everything you were supposed to do. You were a good provider." It was the kindest thing she could have said, and it broke me, because I didn't want to be a provider. I wanted to be the man who went to the lake. I realized then that I had spent my entire life being useful instead of being alive. After she died, the house became very loud. Silence is a noisy thing when you're alone in it. I looked around at the things we owned, the expensive rugs, the crystal, the leather-bound books no one ever read. They were just tombstones. They represented hours of my life that I had traded away. I look at this house now and I don't see an achievement. I see a prison I built for myself, brick by brick, while I was waiting for the right time to start living. I'm 84 now. My joints ache. My memory is like a sieve. I spend a lot of time in this chair. People think that as you get older, you get wiser. That's not true. You just get clearer. You see the map of your life, and you see all the places you didn't go because you were too busy looking at the directions. I see young people now always rushing. They have their phones in their hands, their eyes fixed on a screen, their minds on the next thing. They're so efficient, they're so productive, and it breaks my heart. They think they're gaining ground, but they're just losing time. If I could go back, and I know that's a foolish thing to wish for, I wouldn't change the big things. I'd still marry Evelyn. I'd still have Leo. I'd just change the weight I gave to things. I would understand that a deadline is a fiction, but an evening with your wife is a reality. I would understand that later is the most dangerous word in the English language. I would understand that the smile you lose when you're 30 doesn't just come back when you're 65 and retired. By then, your face has forgotten how to hold it. I see my son now, and I see him making the same trade. He tells me about his promotions, he tells me about his investments. He wants me to be proud of him, and I am, in a way, but mostly I'm just sad for him. I want to tell him that when he's my age, he won't remember the deal he closed in 2024. He'll remember the look on his daughter's face when he told her he was too busy to play. He'll remember the silence in his own house. But like I said, you can't tell people. I'm tired now. The sun has moved off the carpet. I don't have many dreams left. I just have memories. And most of them are a bit dusty. My biggest regret isn't that I failed at anything. I was very successful by every worldly measure. My regret is that I succeeded at all the wrong things. I spent my life climbing a mountain only to find out at the very top that the view was better from the bottom. There's no grand lesson here, no 5 steps to a better life. Just an old man sitting in a quiet house, wishing he had been a little less responsible and a little more present. I hope you have someone to go to the lake with, and I hope if they ask you to go on a Tuesday, you don't wait until Saturday, because it might rain on Saturday. It usually does. I suppose that's all I have to say. If you're listening to this and it's still light outside where you are, maybe just go sit in it for a minute. Don't take your phone. Don't think about what you have to do tomorrow. Just sit there and feel the warmth on your skin. That's the only thing that's actually real. Everything else is just noise. If you found something in my words that felt true to you, maybe you could share a bit of your own story in the comments, or don't. It's your time. Don't let me tell you how to spend it. I think I'll close my eyes for a bit now. The room is getting cold, and I'm just so very tired of waiting for things that aren't coming.